We get so excited every time we see you guys. I know there are a few people that are popping in, so I'll take it slowly just for a minute or two before we get started. I hope everybody's had a wonderful week or two and lots of fun. I was thinking about what to talk about today. I thought I thought for me, but I think a big theme for me, where, around non-duality and around awakening, enlightenment, would be this idea around it being special. And what we tend to come across as seekers, and we've all been there, is hoping that something amazing will happen via samadhi, via our meditation, via a teacher's presence, even via the rasa. Something's going to happen, and some miracle is going to occur, and all of a sudden our ordinary lives aren't going to be ordinary anymore. And we have this hope that our enlightened state is going to be something miraculously special. And we have this hope. So I'm going to tell you today that there is no hope. There is no hope. There never has been any hope, and there never will be any hope. To awaken is to drop the notion of any hope of it being anything other than this, anything else. This is it. Whenever we are in the world, and whenever, for example, when we're in practice, we're practicing trying to be present in our moments, present in our lives. The very effort to remain present in the activity that we're doing is automatically separating us from the activity. The effort to be awakened is separating us from being awakened. So the next question to ask oneself then is, what on earth can we do? And there's a trick, because there really is one thing you can do. And that is notice. Notice when you are in an activity, when you are listening, when you are doing whatever it is that you may be doing, when a thought arises and that takes you out of the doing or out of the being. The more you start to notice the thoughts that take you out of your present moment, that in itself is a method that is very useful, because sorry, I'm just going to wait a second or two.
Yeah, Amy, could you make sure everybody's muted, please? Thanks.
Please understand that it is our fantasies that insulate us for a time. Because whenever we're striving for something that is special, we are always seeking another place and another time, which always takes us out of this here now. The purpose of awakening is to unleash the treasures that are in this ordinary moment. We are in paradise. This is the garden. This is it. And dropping the hope about it is one of the most amazing things you could ever do. I mean, it's not easy, but in fact, what that is doing is it's freeing you. It's freeing you. When you have no hope, what's left? And really, that's one of the points I wanted to make this morning. I really did. Because to be nothing special is simply to be there in each moment.
You know, who is the hope for? Who is doing the hoping? What is the hope doing for you? It's feeding your fantasies. It's encouraging you to dream about a future and make something up that's going to happen other than what's happening now. The hope is for the little me that wishes to rule the world, that wishes to be in charge, that wishes to be the master of the universe and tell the universe what to do. No, not thy will, my will. And I hope that my will conquer everything and I will be king. The little me, king. But the little me is false to begin with. It has no roots in reality. It is an imposition upon us when we were a child. We were told you are separate, you are little, you are small, you are this body, you are your name. These are your parents. You're limited in this way, that way, and the other way. And for that little entity, that little me that's in your head or somewhere else in your body or wherever you might feel that little me, if indeed you do, which maybe you don't, but in case you do, it's hopeless for that little me because it's a fiction. So in fact, hopelessness is the best thing that could happen because then you'll realize you're on the wrong road. You're on a dead end. This is it now, right now, right now. Even before the thought shows up about it. This, you know. And that moment is it. Not any thought about it, not any theory, not any concept, not anything you read, not anything anybody said. Your own direct, raw experience.
You see, your effort is defeating itself. Every time you're trying to be one with everything, that means you're efforting to be one with it. And that very effort is what's separating you from it. Which is why this teaching is so paradoxical, because you have to forget yourself. And the only way to really forget yourself is by being so immersed in your now that there's no one really there experiencing the now. It's what we actually all longing for, as in the love and the compassion, is the end of separation. It's the separation that's the problem. It's the fact that you think that I'm the subject and everything else is an object, meaning your emotions, your feelings, the things in front of you, other people, that is the object. Objects, I mean, are also emotions, they're also feelings, they're also people, then they're also things. Those are the objects I'm speaking of. When in fact, they're not really separate from you, because there is no little you, which means they are arisings, which is always what Ramaji and I have tried to point to, and that they are happening, and they're not happening to you. In fact, you are the experience itself, which liberates you from the suffering, because there's no one there to really suffer.
The separation's your creation. You know, it's to become one is to stop creating the separation. And the separation is a result of asserting that there is a separate little me. I mean, it would be an awesome exercise, an awesome experiment. You know, instead of trying to, say, get rid of the little me or get rid of separation or whatever, let's just say there just really isn't one. Okay, there's this mysterious, amazing big self. And although this little self, you know, has all these things to say, let's just say it's just not real at all. So we're not going to try to get rid of it, because trying to get rid of it would imply that it was real.
That's effort.
So instead, right now, even if you still are experiencing something like that, or thinking you have to get rid of something or change something,
That thought.
How about it's totally okay the way it is, and if you got this little you know, person that feels separate, don't care about it anymore. It doesn't really matter. It's not really real, you know. It's literally, you could literally say it. There is, and it can be misleading, because we're not saying about to lose your personality, or that there's something wrong with ego per se. But let's just say there is no separate person. There is no person. Okay? There is no person. There never was, and there never will be. Okay? So just take a moment with that. There is no person. There never was, there never will be. There can be an experience of it, a made-up experience. There is no person. There never was, and there never will be. Okay, so let's just take a moment and be with that. So if there is no person, then what's going on? Universal process, events. You hear about non-doership, but let's go beyond that. Let's not even talk about doers or non-doers. Okay, if there's no person, then what's going on? The universe, in this moment. Whatever happens is the function of the universe. Creating, maintaining, destroying. As human beings, we judge this or that behavior of a person, of an animal, of the weather. But what if there is no person, no human person like we think, here doing anything at all, even existing at all? Somehow we're able to be aware of it and experience it. Experience this life moment by moment. But if there's no person, then is there a problem? Because the problem is always for the person. Eliminate the person and you eliminate all problems, because as Ananda said, suffering is always for somebody. And if there is nobody, no person, then there is no suffering. There are simply experiences, things coming and going, happening.
Ramaji and I have been trying to figure out a way, and I've really enjoyed this part because I love to feel good. I think all of us enjoy feeling good, right? And the feeling good way is a wonderful method, because when you are doing an activity that you really enjoy and enjoy doing, you get very immersed in the activity, whether it be a sport you love playing, whether it be having sex, whether it be a really cool conversation where you just lose yourself in the conversation, your work that you really enjoy. It's in those moments that you will find more often than not that you lose yourself, because you're so into what you're doing that there really is no one doing it. It somehow happens. And what happens with seekers is they start to suffer because they are really not really enjoying themselves very much, because they're spending the majority of their times in their heads trying to figure out why they're not happy, instead of figuring out what is it exactly that would make me happy, what would make me feel good. Because as soon as you find that inner feeling of, yes, actually that's something I really dig to do, that would make me feel wonderful, that's when you actually start to get tastes of not being the doer. More and more and more so. It's much easier. And then all you have to really do is up your noticing, which is another thing we've advised you all to do. Instead of spending hours in meditation, notice. Because all it really is, you thoughts and the nature of the mind is such that your thoughts are going to arise, and then identification with them can arise too. But when you're in an activity or doing something and you notice the thought coming out, and you notice that, oh boy, that's just taking me out of this particular action, the more you notice it, the more it starts to go away. And that's where we've always tried to lead you into this up your noticing. Because the bottom line is this: you're either present, here, now, this is it, or you're not. You're thinking about it. You're judging it. It's not good enough. And that's the hope, and that's the fantasy.
You know, when you're in a flow and you disappear for a while, why do you come back? I mean, everything's fine, right? I mean, whatever you're doing really, really well. You're in the zone, you're in the flow. It's all working. Why do you come back? You come back because you remember you remember that you exist as a separate entity. It's memory. It's just a memory. If you don't remember that you're supposed to exist as this little me, as this person, and you were to stay lost in the flow, then that would be your awakening. So you see, it's a memory, and it's recreated. This separate little me is recreated every time you remember it. And one other thing about this no person thing, you know, even if your life is a mess, and I mean a steaming hot mess, okay, if you understand it's not about anybody, if you don't judge it, then you will find there's always a way. Because the main problem is resistance and judging the experience we're having. Somebody asked Nisargadatta Maharaj, how can I have what I want? And he said, want what you have. So who is the one that is not wanting what they have, you see? It's this little me that wishes to rule in hell rather than serve in heaven.
I had such an interesting experience about a month ago. It was fascinating. I don't know if I told you about it, but I went for a walk. I like to walk sometimes. And there was this San Diego has quite a few lovely parks. I don't know if any of you have been here before, but there are a lot of parks, like empty space with benches, and some of them are really big. And I was just going for my walk. You know, I had my music on. I'm kind of just, you know, doing my thing. And I noticed a group of people meditating in a like a group meditation. So I stopped for a while. I just felt like watching. I just stood by a tree and I was watching this meditation, this guided meditation. There seemed to be a teacher and he was guiding them, blah, blah, blah. And then after the meditation, they were all talking about their experience in the meditation and, oh my God, this happened and that happened. And then I'm watching, okay, I'm grinning. I'm finding it amusing at that point. And then I continued with my walk. I like meditation, you know, but again, I was just noticing this happening, and I put my music back on and I continued my walk. And then I noticed a little girl, and she must have been around 7. And she was throwing an unbelievable tantrum. And her babysitter, a Spanish lady or somebody looking after her, must have been the nanny, was screeching at her. They were having this argument. And the little girl was on the ground screaming, and the nanny was screaming. And there was this energy around these two, this little girl and this nanny. And then they got up and and then they stormed off. And I thought to myself, who's more awake? The meditators in the corner talking about their samadhi and experience, or this little girl and the nanny who are actually in their moment, having an argument in there now and fully there, fully expressing themselves as they are, not thinking about it. And I thought, they are. Those two, the little girl and the nanny. There was no thought in the tantrum. And little girls have tantrums. The nanny was reacting to the little girl. She was concerned. You see, there was no effort in their being. But the meditators in the corner, boy, were they making an effort. I mean, I had to stand there for a while. You know, then I had to listen to the spiel. So what I'm saying to you here, not that there is anything wrong with meditating or with attempting to get in touch with this presence that we speak of. And it's very important to know that. And to the I am, the I exist. I'm not saying that it's wrong. What I am saying, that there comes a point where you just have to drop it. You've got to drop the hope and you've got to drop the effort in order to allow your being to be. And the funny thing is that the more faith and trust you develop in your being, in just being, the more certainty develops in this being, then that's when this extraordinary experience of awakening can take place, because you learn to trust it. And that's a valid point, I think. I hope.
Oh, yeah. We we're taught that we're not okay. We're taught that we're not good enough. We're taught that we need to improve. We're taught we're supposed to love everybody and be nice to everybody. You know, I'm sure a lot of us were taught that anyway. And here's the thing. You know, this teaching is only for advanced spiritual people. It's not for everybody. Okay? Because it says there is no person. So if you've got the nanny and you've got the little girl, okay, there's no person. And they're yelling at each other. And then you've got the people meditating and the meditation teacher. And they're doing their thing. And they're having their experiences. And apparently they're excited about their experiences. And they're talking about it. And there's no person there. You see? No person meditating. No person becoming more enlightened. No person having special spiritual experiences. No meditation teacher. No meditators. It's like everything is the same as the park. The tree, there's no person in the tree. There's no person in the air. There's no person in the flowers. Yet it all works so beautifully, so perfectly. There is no person in your body. So if there's no person and no one to judge it, no person to judge any of this, or to say this is right or this is wrong. And like I said, this is an advanced teaching, not for everybody, not for just anybody. This is for people with high character, noble character. Then understand they're both enlightenment. Sitting there meditating, having spiritual experiences, throwing the tantrum, that is the truth, that is the self, that is the natural state. It is not about looking like a saint, sounding like a saint, acting like a saint. It's got nothing whatsoever to do with that. Okay, it is about what is right now is in fact the reality. This is it. So if it's a tantrum, it's a tantrum. If you're meditating, it's a meditating. But what happens is seekers place enormous value, because they've been taught to do this, to place enormous value on you know, somebody in some, you know, special exotic state. No, this is it right now. And as long as you chase something else, your energy is going in the wrong direction. This is about relaxing. Relaxing into yourself as you are. Accepting yourself totally and unconditionally, which is the same as loving yourself unconditionally, approving of yourself unconditionally as you are right now. In our research into what causes addiction and what causes, you know, the behavior that, you know, we find unpleasant in other human beings, it is because the person deep down is judging themselves, resisting themselves, condemning themselves, loathing themselves. What if there was total acceptance? What if there was unconditional love in themselves, for these very things that we want to judge? Then what happens is the flow. Then what happens is the openness. So you see, this is why we're not just condoning this or that behavior. We're saying this is about total acceptance, no matter what it is. You see, you could be really acting in or feeling all kinds of funky ways. And we're saying the secret is don't judge that anymore. Don't resist it anymore. Don't find fault with it anymore. Approve it, welcome it, dance it, celebrate it, kiss it, embrace it, love it. And what will happen is the frog will turn into a prince or princess. That's the secret of life.
You know, people think that enlightenment is kind of like being flooded with love and with joy and compassion. But what you have to understand that the love and the compassion, they really can only arise and when you are not separate from the object. As long as you are separated, you suffer. As long as you think there is this little I separated from another little I, or separated from the feeling, or disliking the feeling, or judging the person, or judging the experience, it's separation again. It's me having this, or me having this experience. There's still the little I. When that dissolves, a natural love and compassion arises because you're dealing with yourself all the time. It's like, you know, when Ramaji and I enter into these groups, we never think about what we're going to say. We're never nervous.
No, we do talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, but we didn't today.
No, we didn't today. Right.
Yeah, well, very rarely. We've been speaking about the embodiment one because that's new, but not these. I don't think about these. I don't talk about these with you. Maybe you do. Well, he's a 5, so he probably thinks about what he's going to say more than I do.
Show him your page of notes. Show him your notes there.
Oh, my notes I make anyway.
Okay, so you prepare.
You know, no, I want to have things that I can talk about with you guys that are fresh things. But what I mean to say is there is no, I guess the point I'm making is that we're not speaking as us speaking to you. We're speaking to ourselves.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to say ahead of time, and we don't need to know, because what we're going to say is what you want is you. It's about you. I mean, we don't really have anything to say, you know. So I mean, it's really that you're here. So because you're here, then we're going to talk. You know, that's what's going on here.
You know, we love you so much. You know, we really love you so much because we love ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, so we love each and every one of you. Because you are an extension of us, you know, and you know, people come together to co-create. So here we are, we're co-creating this kind of awesome event.
And all the drama in your life is about nobody. That's the point. The rasa is going to help you see that and know it, feel it, experience it, and be certain about it.
Yeah.
But all the drama, whether it's you or anybody else, you see, is about nobody and about nothing. And the liberation is to see how nonsensical it all is. That it's a tempest in a teacup. You might as well just get on with your life. You know, I mean, it's all fine and good to do self-improvement and therapy and you know, have experiences. But what we're saying is this is not that teaching. This teaching is what will be the final solution. What will finish you. What will finish you is the understanding that this isn't about anybody at all. Somebody asked the Buddha, what are the characteristics of someone who has realized this teaching, who is living in the enlightened way? And he said, whatever arises for that person, in that person, their relationship to that arising will be, this is not me, this is not mine, and this is not about me. It's called the one-point teaching, and it's on the internet. This is not me, this is not mine, and this is not about me, okay? So whatever it is, that's the teaching.
You are not.
That's the teaching.
Suffering.
Yeah.
The suffering itself.
Suffering is arising.
Is arising. And you know what? It's just your mind.
Coming and going.
Is suffering.
It shows up and it leaves. That's
you
the
have to let the suffering go.
Well, really, if you see that the suffering is about nobody, you see that then you will let go of the suffering. Because that feeling it's about me, that is the linchpin. That's what holds it in place. When you understand the teaching is pointing to directly, there is no little me that this is about. When you see that, when you have a glimpse of that, automatically the burden of suffering is lifted. Because suffering is always about me. It's always about the suffering of me. And, you know, whether it's, you know, Kritza or anybody else on this call or anybody else on the planet. Okay, that's the point. That's what finishes you off. That's what finishes the suffering. Not that there can't still be some kind of pain. You know, pain will happen, but pain is temporary. It comes and it goes. Everything comes and goes. Unless you hold on to it, it's going to leave. That's what you see. Everything comes and goes. I mean, fast. Because it's a trance state. It's a belief in an illusion. Like, you know, at one time in history, people actually believed the earth was flat. They actually believed that the sun rotated around the earth. It was a belief and everybody believed it. Well, likewise, almost everybody believes there's this little me person in their body, in their head or something, and it's making all these decisions and controlling and doing and all these things all day long. Okay, that is a false belief. It is simply not true. And if you look at science and you look at brain science says when there's an event, there's a period of time, however many seconds or a split second, but it can be detected before a little me shows up to say, oh, that's my experience, or to decide on something. There's actually the impulse arises in the brain electronically. Electrical impulse arises prior to a decision or an action. In other words, no little me created it. It arose and then the little me experienced it.
Okay, Kritz, are you done with that? Thank you, my friend. Any other questions?
Thank you, Kritz. Thank you, Kritz. Yeah, but again, you see, I mean, if somebody's going to awaken, okay, so you'd like talking about people doing spiritual practice and they're more likely to awaken. Well, I would say they're doing spiritual practice because they're going to awaken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that the spiritual practice causes awakening, because you are already that. The self, your true self, you already are that. The diamond is already in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on is you're not seeing it. You're not experiencing it. I could have it in my hand, but if I'm not experiencing it, it's like I don't have it.
You believe you're not awake.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you didn't have that belief, you would realize that you don't need rasa, you don't need meditation, you don't need anything, because you've always been that, you were born that, and you always will be that.
Maybe this is a better answer for your question, which you kind of implied. Yes, the light, you know, the spiritual light that is the rasa, that is at 1000, literally comes down and illuminates your brain and reprograms your brain for non-duality.
Okay.
Reprogramming it from the survival fear-based duality that it was conditioned into, and that for the last 150,000 years has been its bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because our brains haven't changed very much in 150,000 years. Right. So yeah, it's got to, so people can even have legitimate non-dual experiences, states for a period of time, even for weeks or months. And we both talked to plenty of people like that, but they fall out of it because their brain has not been reprogrammed to accept non-duality. So is this more like what you're talking about? And that's
it's academic.
Well, it's academic and it's entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's because your mind wants something to have to chew on, you know. Right. Whereas in fact, what we would want is somebody who's just the optimal person, like you said. What's the optimal attitude? Where they'd be like, man, I am just done with this seeking crap. And I'm just ready to be free. I'm ready to go free right now. So sock it to me, baby. And there's nothing else here but that. So that's what we want. I mean, you know, to be ready to be finished. I mean, you know, like let's say you've been in high school forever. You just want to graduate. You know,
right.
You're not going to read chemistry again and politics again, sociology. You just want to get out of there. You want to graduate. That's what we want. We want people that are seeing, they burned out the seeking. They're what we call end of seeking. You know, that's, and then that person is actually pretty easy to awaken with rasa.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be spiritual, right? I'm supposed to be having spiritual thoughts. I'm supposed to be having spiritual feelings. And so what comes in is a very subtle condemnation and judgment. It's very subtle and it's very quick. If you don't realize it, what you're doing is you're just maintaining a state of stress and tension in your mind. See, the mind wants to always have a reason to have a problem so that it can fix it. You know, it just, there is nothing wrong.
Yeah, you know,
Unless you think there's something wrong, there isn't anything wrong. You see, right now, there's nothing wrong with anything. If something occurs, it's because the universe wanted it to happen. The universe did it. So who are you to argue with the universe? You know what? You know, it's not actually your thought. You know, if it was your thought, wouldn't, you know, did you send in a memo saying I would like to have this thought? You know, did you request that thought? No, nobody knows what their next thought is going to be, which should be pretty telling as far as how this is all working. If you don't know your next thought, what does that say about how the universe works and what life is all about? It tells you that actually the most important stuff is being withheld from you and you're actually not in control at all. The universe is running the show. And well, I know. That's a, but this is in terms of allowing the moment. Okay. Just to, and it's along the lines of not my will, thy will. Okay.
You are thy will. You are an aspect of God. So from that perspective, you are a limitless ray of the sun.
Yeah. When you stop
anything is
asserting,
possible, anything at all.
When you stop asserting the little me, the will of the little me.
One.
When you stop asserting the me of the little will of the will of the little me, which is what you're talking about, it's judging itself.
Mm-hmm.
Then the supreme will is there. You don't have to invent the supreme will, the will of the higher power. It's already there. Okay, and what Ananda is alluding to is the fact that when that false separate will is gone, then there is only the supreme will, and then there can be the experience of co-creativity with supreme will, which is have to do with the art of manifestation. Yes. But you know, we're talking
and fear.
Yeah, that's actually a very reasonable response.
It is.
It's such unfamiliar territory.
And the truth of the matter is that may be the case for a period of time. But ultimately your personality, Vincent, as you are, your unique self is not going to become a rock. On the contrary, you're going to be just a fearless, amazing being yourself. No. So you can fall into that nothing kind of feeling, like, oh my gosh, feeling for a while, but it's temporary. Don't be afraid, go with it.
Very common fear is like, if I don't have that me, how am I going to, will I want anything? Will I desire anything? Will I have any motivation? Will I want to go to work? And the answer is, the me was never making you do any of that. The me was just the Johnny come lately that would ride the horse of spontaneous action. The me jumps on and goes, oh, I did this, or I'm doing that. But in the moment when you pay attention to how it arises, it's not there. It only comes in right after, a second after, you know, that's the thing. So no, don't worry about it. It's really about living in the Tao, being one with the flow. You are that flow. You're no longer the rock in the river. You're now one with it. And yet, as a human being, you're able to appreciate it and enjoy it and co-create with it. So
you're not giving anything up, Vincent. I've said this before.
Yes,
I'll say it to you again. You're not giving anything up. You're giving up something that doesn't exist to begin with. So it's false. And then what remains is actually this incredible force, what I'm now using a word called the big self, which sounds ridiculous, but the force of nature that you are and everybody else is, which will be more eight-ish and more fearless and say what it wants to say and be who it wants to be, because that is you. That is you. You are capable of it. You're young enough to enjoy the rest of your life living it the way you choose to, and not having fear and not having, and I'm jealous that you're in Brazil.
Cool that you did notice that when there are, you know, you didn't have that appendage of the little me, which is always, you know, calling attention to itself. You were actually very relaxed, and you didn't care, and it was all good. That's the point, is rather than talking about bliss, you know, it makes more sense to talk about everything is okay. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with anything. Everything is okay. It's perfectly fine. And so it's such a deep level of acceptance that then, you know, that is the peace, because now everything that shows up is a gift. But anyway.
Oh yeah, everything's bullshit. It's the best meditation you can ever do. The bullshit meditation. You sit quietly. Everything that comes up is bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit. It's an emotion, it's bullshit. It's a thought, it's bullshit. It's just the bullshit meditation until you find your stillness without any bullshit. Kind of makes it fun.
Oh yeah, see, he's chickening out too. Okay. All right. Oh, I know. I had something I want to talk about since nobody else.
Uh-oh.
No, it's a good thing. In fact, it's kind of, you inspired me while you were talking earlier today. So it's really based on what you said, my dear. You know, people associate the path of awakening with suffering, pain and suffering. We're going to have go through pain, and we're going to have to suffer. And it's the suffering that helps you wake up. Well, guess what? There is another path. Ananda called it the feeling good way. And what that is there is a path of pleasure. There is a path of feeling good. So whenever you feel good, whenever you notice yourself feeling good, really give yourself to that, and really dwell on it and relax into it and allow it to open and expand. fill your whole body, because paradoxically, if you allow a pleasure and you really surrender to it, you'll actually disappear into it. You know, the little me, the false little me.
Absolutely.
You see, that's a joke, you know, like in the Judeo-Christian religion, you know, they're afraid of pleasure. But I wonder if maybe they're afraid of pleasure because actually you disappear into it. Maybe that's why they're afraid of it. You know, so when, you know, and it could be something it could be beauty, any kind of beauty will magnetically soften your separation, because the beauty is calling to you, it's magnetic, and you trust beauty. And also beauty and love are very closely related. So anytime you notice this happening, go with it. It's a meditation. It's a natural, spontaneous meditation. It's easiest, of course, when you're in nature, when you're surrounded by the beauty of nature. Any comments about that, Ananda?
No, I said that.
Well, yes, you did. And
You're just repeating it.
I just was repeating what you said, yes, in my own words.
Remember what we spoke about also. That gets a little confusing, my sweetest Elaine. And the reason being, what we mean is the suffering part of our minds, the one who's obsessing, concerned, doubting, the little me, the little I, the one who's prone to overthinking, that one is a fictional character. It's the fictional I. But then you become in touch with what? What is this awareness? And it's very simple. Ask yourself, what is it? What is it doing all the time? How am I moving? How do I know to go get a drink from the refrigerator when I'm thirsty? Go to the bathroom when I need to go. Take my dog for a walk. How's this? And then you recognize that this is the I am. This is you. So no, do you feel disempowered by losing something that doesn't work for you at all, or totally empowered? This force that you are, it wants to feel good. It wants to experience itself in a happy way and enjoy its life. Do you think it wants to suffer? Why would it want to suffer? But you come to understand this when you develop certainty and trust in it, which starts off slowly because we're so used to thinking and analyzing and going there. So it's like slowly, and that's what the rasa does. It's eliminating that shit slowly but surely. And then you become a force. You already were the force.
The river doesn't judge itself. The river of life does not judge itself. And so what we're saying, one way to say it is, no more, don't be the rock. You know, there is no rock. You know, so the rock is, you know, this little me that feels separate and looks at life as outside of itself, something it can control or manipulate or it's afraid of or whatever. But when the rock disappears, okay, what's left is just this river of life that is not self-conscious, but just enjoying its own action. And it's not negative at all. You know, we can, you know, say there's no little me, but in fact, it's super affirmative. It's just that it's very difficult to talk about the nature of this affirmative big self, because as soon as we start talking about big self, you know, or the one supreme self or something like that, people make concepts and pictures in their head. So sometimes it's best to say, there is no person, there is no little me. You know, what would it be like if there simply wasn't that at all? Or you knew that if it seemed to be happening in you, it's completely false, just an illusion, just a made up thing. And there is no person, then what? That means every moment is it. Every moment could not be any other way. Every moment is the entire universe delivering itself at your door here and now. You know, so precious, so full of value, infinite precious value. You see, if there's nobody here to judge it, nobody here to go, I don't like this, nobody here to say, that's not what I wanted, this isn't good enough, I think I want to be somewhere else. What if what if that voice and that entity that does all that judging, resisting, rejecting, what if it was totally gone? See, what would that experience be then?
Here's a fantastic quote by Nisargadatta, and he writes here, and I love this quote because it really nails down what we're saying right now. And he writes here, to live without self-concern, meaning little self, okay? For this, you must know your own true being as indomitable, fearless, ever victorious. Once you know with absolute certainty that nothing can trouble you but your own imagination, you come to disregard your desires and fears and your concepts and your ideas and beliefs, and you live by this truth alone. Ooh.
And this truth is this river, this life, right in this very moment. This is it. Like
well,
Andrew,
you are that truth.
Yeah, like Andrew said, this is it. And we want to see everybody if possible. So Mehdi and Amy and Edward, possible, we'd like to see you for the purpose of the rasa. Up to you. Thank you, Mehdi.
Is Mehdi still at school?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, he's still at school. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He works so hard.
Yeah, he is. Hardworking guy. Okay, so here we go. 20 minutes. Ready? Are we ready? 20 minutes in silence with eyes closed.
Yeah, just relax. Just be received, guys. You've earned it. You deserve it. This can be it.
Yeah, we're going to go for it. Okay, here we go.
everybody. That was your rasa. So fantastic and wonderful. We love you all. We hope you enjoyed that. Try and sit for 10 to 15 minutes if you can, just quietly. And have a beautiful, wonderful weekend.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.